On May the 9th, teams of adventurers were about to get the ultimate high, one they'd paid a lot of money for. But within 48 hours, nature and desperate people would be picking and choosing who would live and who would die.
In the world of high-stakes mountaineering, you might assume the ultimate rule is teamwork. But on the frozen, wind-swept slopes of Mount Everest, the world's highest peak, a shocking reality often prevails. The unspoken law is to leave the fallen where they lie. Over 300 people have perished on Everest, and more than 200 of their bodies remain on the mountain, frozen in time. Many of these bodies are located in the infamous death zone, which lies above 8,000 meters. This area is so hostile to human life, it functions as a vertical cemetery. For climbers striving to reach the summit, the path is often lined with these silent, icy sentinels. Let's look at the harsh reality of survival in the death zone and examine the chilling reason why attempting to save another person on Everest can often become a death sentence for yourself.
This is going to be the biggest mountain on Earth for a long, long time. And there's going to be more and more people visiting it all the time.
The irresistible call of the void. Why would anyone willingly enter an environment so lethal that their own companions might be forced to abandon them? The answer has little to do with logic and everything to do with a profound, almost spiritual human drive. The allure of Everest isn't about tangible rewards, it's about confronting the absolute limits of existence. When pioneering mountaineer George Mallory was asked why he wanted to climb the mountain in the 1920s, his simple, three-word answer became legendary: because it's there. But his deeper explanation reveals the truth and heart of the matter. He understood that people drawn to this colossal challenge aren't seeking fame or fortune, they're answering an internal call, a need to struggle upward and forever upward in a battle that's a metaphor for life itself. This mindset is crucial to understanding the decisions made at extreme altitudes. These climbers are, by their very nature, what one observer called highly motivated people who find meaning not in safety but in risk. Sir Edmund Hillary, who along with Tenzing Norgay was the first to officially summit the peak, expressed this sentiment perfectly when he stated, "It's not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves." For those who attempt Everest, the climb is an internal pilgrimage. They accept from the outset that the stakes are absolute. They're operating under a different set of values where the ultimate personal quest for self-discovery outweighs the conventional logic of self-preservation. Mallory himself articulated the beautiful, irrational pull of the mountain. He once wrote about this very question, explaining the profound, non-materialistic motivation that drives a person to such extremes. Quote, "What we get from this adventure is just sheer joy, and joy is, after all, the end of life."
Thanks to NOLA Mattress for sponsoring this video. NOLA is an award-winning mattress brand known for its cooling technology, exceptional pressure relief, and long-lasting durability. I'm typically a side sleeper and tend to overheat throughout the night, so I chose the best-selling NOLA Evolution mattress. It specifically supports spine alignment for side sleepers and has built-in cooling technology, so it seemed like the perfect fit for me. My mattress arrived rolled up in a box, which was super easy to set up. I just slid it out of the box, and within minutes, it was ready to go. I've now had this mattress for a little over 1 month, and it's completely transformed my sleep quality. I wake up feeling relaxed and rejuvenated, and I no longer wake up in the middle of the night from getting too hot. The comfort and cooling features of the Glaciotex cooling top has been a game changer, and I don't think I could ever go back to another mattress. Plus, buying online and getting it shipped straight to my door was way easier than going to the store. NOLA is unique because everything is made fresh to order in their Arizona factory. There's no fiberglass, no harmful chemicals, and zero off-gassing. Just clean, safe sleep. Plus, every mattress ships free and comes with a 120-night sleep trial and a limited lifetime warranty. They even offer financing if you need it. I love my NOLA mattress, and I think you would love one too. If you're looking for a new bed, head to nolamattress.com/FactsVerse and use the code FactsVerse to get an extra $50 off your NOLA mattress. This is an additional discount on top of whatever is already being offered on the site, so go check it out while you can. And after you check out, you can help out our channel by telling them that I sent you in their post-purchase survey. Thanks again to NOLA Mattress for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to go to nolamattress.com/FactsVerse and use the code FactsVerse for $50 off your NOLA mattress.
Entering the death zone. Once a climber ascends above 8,000 meters, or 26,247 feet, they cross an invisible threshold into a realm known as the death zone. The name is not hyperbole. In this rarefied atmosphere, the body is actively dying. The partial pressure of oxygen is less than a third of what it is at sea level, a deficit so severe the human body can no longer acclimatize. Instead, it begins to consume itself, burning through its oxygen stores faster than they can be replenished. The experience has been described by mountaineer David Brashears as feeling, quote, like running on a treadmill and breathing through a straw. Every step is a monumental effort, and even resting offers no real recovery. This extreme oxygen deprivation, or hypoxia, launches a systematic assault on the body and the mind. The brain, starved of oxygen it needs to function, begins to fail. Climbers experience severe cognitive impairment. Confusion, memory loss, poor judgment, and even hallucinations become common. Simple life or death tasks, like clipping into a safety line or reading an oxygen gauge, becomes bewilderingly complex. This mental decay is what makes the death zone so insidious. It turns a climber's greatest asset, their mind, into their own worst enemy. The mountain doesn't just kill you with cold and exhaustion, it tricks you into killing yourself. Beyond the slow suffocation, two medical crises can strike with terrifying speed. High-altitude pulmonary edema causes fluid to leak into the lungs, creating a horrifying sensation of drowning miles from any ocean. High-altitude cerebral edema causes the brain to swell within the skull, leading to loss of coordination, irrational behavior, coma, and death. Both conditions are rapidly fatal unless the victim can descend thousands of feet immediately, an impossible task for someone who is already incapacitated. The unspoken law of the mountain. When a climber collapses in the death zone, the question isn't simply whether to help. The brutal truth is a rescue is often a physical and logistical impossibility. This is where the unspoken law of the mountain takes over. A grim calculation of survival that prioritizes the living over the dying or dead. The first and most immediate obstacle is weight. A human body, which normally weighs around 80 kilograms, can weigh up to 150 kilograms, or over 330 pounds, once it's frozen solid and encased in ice and gear. Moving this inert, frozen mass down treacherous, near-vertical slopes of ice and rock is a Herculean task in an environment where climbers struggle to carry their own body weight. A recovery mission is not a two-person job. It requires a dedicated team of 6 to 10 highly skilled Sherpas, each one putting their own life on the line. They face the same mortal dangers as any other climber: avalanches, falls into deep crevasses, sudden blizzards, and the debilitating effects of the death zone itself. The mission is not only dangerous, but also astronomically expensive, with costs ranging from $30,000 to over $70,000. The history of Everest is tragically punctuated by recovery attempts that led to more deaths. In 1984, 2 climbers died while trying to retrieve the body of German mountaineer Hannelore Schmatz, a stark reminder that the mountain demands a heavy price for any attempt to reclaim its dead. This creates a horrifying ethical equation. Is it justifiable to risk the lives of 8 healthy rescuers to retrieve one person who has already perished? On Everest, the answer is almost always no. The task of recovery falls to the Sherpa community, who are often forced to weigh the immense risk against a much-needed paycheck. This introduces a complex socio-economic pressure into an already impossible situation. The sheer difficulty of any action at that altitude is hard to comprehend. Aung Shering Sherpa, the former president of the Nepal Mountaineering Association, explained that even picking up a candy wrapper high up the mountain requires significant effort, as it's completely frozen and needs to be dug out. If a candy wrapper is a struggle, recovering a 150-kilogram body is a mission that borders on suicide. The ghosts who guide the way. The abstract rules of the death zone became chillingly real in the stories of those who never left. For nearly 2 decades, the most famous of these permanent residents was a man known only as Green Boots. His body lay in a small limestone cave at 8,500 meters on the main northeast route, his distinctive green Koflach boots serving as a macabre waypoint for climbers to gauge their altitude. He's widely believed to be Sewang Paljor, an Indian climber who was lost in the infamous 1996 blizzard. For years, his presence was a simple, accepted fact of the climb, a human tragedy transformed into a geographical marker. Another of Everest's ghosts was Hannelore Schmatz, the first woman to die on the upper slopes in 1979. For years, her body sat propped against her pack just 100 meters above Camp 4, her eyes open and hair blowing in the wind. A sight one climber described as a sinister guard. The normalization of these bodies as landmarks created a dangerous psychological precedent, one that culminated in the tragic and controversial death of David Sharp in 2006. The 34-year-old British climber sat down to rest in the very same cave occupied by Green Boots, slowly freezing to death as an estimated 40 other climbers passed him on their way to and from the summit. Some mistook him for the famous corpse, while others, deep in their own oxygen-starved struggle for survival, survival felt they could do nothing. The incident sparked a firestorm of debate, with Sir Edmund Hillary himself expressing outrage at what he saw as a shocking decay of mountain ethics. The experience of climbing among the dead leaves an indelible mark on those who survive. Filmmaker Elias Saikali documented the grim reality during a crowded 2019 season. Quote, "I cannot believe what I saw up there. Death, carnage, chaos, lineups, dead bodies on the route, and intense at Camp 4. People being dragged down, walking over bodies." His words paint a picture not of a pristine wilderness, but of a beautiful, deadly place pushed to its breaking point. Now it's time to hear from you. What's the most surprising part of this story to you? Let us know in the comments section below.